"Where's your black band?" I was referring to the black mourning band, typically worn by police departments to honor a fellow officer who's died in the line of duty. An officer from a nearby agency had died in an on-duty car crash, and the department had authorized the wearing of the black band. My officer had only been a cop for a little over a year, and he was the only one at roll call not wearing the black band. Several of the other young officers were eyeing us as I pulled him aside after the briefing. "Where's your black band?" I asked for a second time. "LT, I didn't know the guy, and besides, I think it's a little elitist to wear something when an officer dies, but not when other people die. Aren't we supposed to be just like everyone else? I mean, we're just citizens in a uniform." I wasn't mad or even surprised by his statement. It was something I had heard over and over again, especially from younger officers who've been listening way too closely to the anti-police rhetoric. "How many people applied with you for this job?" I don't know, 40 or 50. "How many people were hired with you?" 2. "How many people failed at the academy?" 10, I think. "How many washed out of the FTO program your first year?" 3. "How many people you know are willing to sacrifice their life for their community and people they have never met before for an ideal? How many people do you know that are willing to die for their fellow man?" He only stared at me silently with that question. Here's the deal. Law enforcement isn't a job that just anyone can do. We're the ones that charge to the sound of gunfire. We're the ones that dive into those lakes and rivers to pull people out. We're the first ones at the fire and often crawl inside without any equipment to save people at the risk of our own life. We're the first ones at the medical emergencies and don't hesitate to take action even without personal protective equipment. We face those monsters that wear human masks while others cower in fear. We are not like everyone else. We are a part of a very special group of people. We are our brother's keeper. We don't always win, and luck isn't always on our side. The people we serve don't always understand us, and sometimes they don't appreciate us. But that's okay, because we know what we do and why we do it. And in the end, we will honor our fellow officers who make the ultimate sacrifice, and we will not forget the ones who gave everything, even if everyone else does. I saw that kid in the patrol office an hour later. He was wearing the black band. It's time to start telling our own stories. I'm Steve Kellums, and welcome to Blue Canary. There isn't an easy answer to the origin of the black mourning band. The use of black clothing to show that the wearer is in mourning for the loss of a loved one can be traced all the way back to ancient Rome, where the traditional white toga would be replaced with a black toga pulla. Over the centuries and in various cultures, white and black have battled it out for dominance as the prevailing color for mourning. However, in the 14th century, Christian churches had made the wearing of black at funerals a common custom. The 19th century artist and professor F. Edward Hulme explained the color black at funerals showed the spiritual darkness of the soul unillumined by the sun of righteousness. By the 14th century, it was widely associated with death. What arguably set the color black aside for funerals was its expense. To get the deep dark color of black required multiple rounds of dyeing. Black clothing simply cost more than other colors, and funerals, specifically important funerals, were theater of the day. It was an opportunity to show off, make political statements, and impress your peers and commoners alike. As Katie Thornton of The Atlantic put it, funerals were the red carpets of the early modern era. The funeral of Queen Elizabeth I in 1603 solidified black as the color of mourning. While black has become a more common color over the years and much less expensive, it still has a historical connection with death and to this day is the most common color associated with mourning. While the wealthy and political were trying to one-up each other in the black clothing department, the military found itself with a conundrum. Early military uniforms were colorful. The bright clothing helped differentiate the fighters on the battlefield. It helped build cohesion and recognition on the smoke-filled landscape. Uniforms were at their most glorious during the Napoleonic era in Europe. Bright colors, gold buttons and ribbons, silver braids, and polished leather. The uniforms were intended to display authority, power, status, and glamour. They were everything but black. To allow for proper mourning while still wearing the uniform of the day, the black armband was adopted. By adding a black armband to the uniform, the wearer was able to convey the appropriate honor and respect for the deceased while still being gloriously appointed in the dress uniform of the day. The black armband was quickly adopted by anyone who had a specific uniform to wear during the funeral rites. We still see the black armband worn today by sports teams wishing to show their respect for a lost member or important person. For law enforcement, the practice of wearing a black armband quickly morphed into wearing a black band over the officer's badge. Today, it is common practice for law enforcement officers to wear a black band over the badge to pay respects to fellow officers who died in the line of duty. The Officer Down Memorial page has a sample protocol for wearing the black mourning band. It says, "The preferred mourning band is a solid black band that will fit tightly around your agency's badge. For most badges, the mourning band should be worn straight across the center of the badge. For star badges, the mourning band should be worn from 11 to 5 as if looking at the face of a clock. The width of the black band should not exceed ½ inch. Mourning bands with the thin blue line are not preferred, although some agencies may use them. Black mourning bands shall be worn on a law enforcement badge only in the following circumstances. 1. Upon the line of duty death of an active law enforcement officer, LEO, in your department. The mourning band should be worn for a period of 30 days from the date of death. 2. By all LEO in uniform or in civilian clothing while displaying a badge when attending the funeral of an active LEO. Upon the completion of the funeral, the mourning band shall be removed. 3. Upon the line of duty death of a LEO from a neighboring jurisdiction, the mourning band will be worn from the date of death and removed at the conclusion of the day of the burial. 4. National Peace Officers Memorial Day, May 15th. 5. The day of any memorial service your agency has honoring your department's LEOs who have died in the line of duty. 6. At the direction of your sheriff, agency director, or chief of police, when special circumstances dictate that a department display of official mourning is appropriate.
The Legal Liability Risk Management Institute is the nation's largest provider of liability and risk management services in the United States. Our goal is to help reduce liability, reduce lawsuits, and enhance officer performance. Regardless of the size of your agency, we have a risk management solution. You may contact us at www.llrmi.com or call 317-386-8325.
Unfortunately, like everything else in law enforcement, the black mourning band is not without controversy. There are people inside and outside of their police agency who don't like the idea of the mourning band, and in some cases have worked hard politically to eliminate the practice. Let's take a look at a few of the arguments against wearing the mourning band. The first, and often the main argument against wearing a mourning band, is that it creates separation between the officers and the public they serve. We have been hearing about the separation thing forever. Cops aren't part of the community. Cops think they're better than the rest of us. Cops aren't special. First, cops are special, and it's okay to be special. Athletes are special. No one has a problem calling Patrick Mahomes, the quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs, special. The reality is that the world is made up of tribes, and being a part of those tribes is special, at least to those who understand and respect the members of that tribe. I expect police to strive for and meet higher levels of bravery, honor, and duty than the general public. Because of that, they are special. Cops don't think they're better than everyone else. On the contrary, cops know that their purpose in life is to serve their community and the people that live there. They're not above their fellow citizens, but they're a part of a special group of people that are willing to give everything of themselves to help others. Cops are also part of the community. They live in the community they police. They go to the same stores, they eat in the same restaurants, and their kids go to the same schools as everyone else in the community. The people who push the separation agenda are at the very least unknown dupes of the anti-police agenda. The anti-police agenda love to separate officers from the community they serve. It is easier to destroy something that is different, strange, and separate. It's hard to destroy Officer Jim, who lives 3 blocks down and directs traffic at the church every Sunday. The anti-police groups want to separate us from the communities we serve, and they want to destroy the very thing that helps us do what we do, our tribe. The mourning band custom is just one of many customs and practices that help us create our tribe. Police officers who serve their fellow citizens and who are willing to make the ultimate sacrifice are special. And if that isn't special, then why would anyone want to do it? Another argument I hear is, why do we just wear them for local officers? Why not every officer killed in the line of duty? Unfortunately, the rate at which officers are killed in the line of duty is significant. Even if we only wore the mourning bands for a single day in honor of an officer killed anywhere in the line of duty, we would never take the band off. It would become part of the badge and lose its meaning over time. Police Week is a time we honor all officers who have made the ultimate sacrifice. The mourning band is to respect and honor our own family within the greater tribe. An interesting criticism is that the wearing of the mourning band is a token gesture at best and doesn't truly honor the fallen officer. This is a true statement. If we really wanted to honor those fallen officers, we would work tirelessly to ensure what happened to them never happened again. We would identify what actions caused the death and eliminate it. We would improve training to a point where the mistakes couldn't happen again. We would raise hiring standards and only bring on people of the highest caliber. We would improve promotion standards and procedures so that the greatest leaders at our agency would be able to provide guidance and direction for younger officers and to develop them into future leaders. We would hold criminals accountable and ensure that anyone who killed a cop would face the severest possible sentence for their actions. But we do none of that. We might want to. That's the thing. But as I've said before, law enforcement is run by politicians, and they do not always see eye to eye with the desires of our profession. But to say the wearing of the mourning band is a token gesture that has no meaning is wrong and missing the point. The mourning band is incredibly important to police culture and to the development of the tribe. The mourning band says that we see you, that we understand, that we care, that we mourn, and that we ultimately respect and honor you for your service. The mourning band isn't for the dead. It's for the living. It's for the family of the fallen officer who are struggling to understand why their loved ones sacrificed everything for people that don't know them or even like them. It's for the children who watch TV every day, where they're told their parent is a villain for being a cop. It shows them that what their parent did was heroic and honorable. It's for the fellow officers who are faced with their own mortality and find themselves questioning their life choices. It helps to reinforce their commitment to their community. It reminds them in the darkest times that we will not forget them, that we will honor them, and that we have pride in what they do. It reminds ourselves that we have to continually strive to get better at our profession and to try and make sure that this tragedy will never happen again. Finally, to prove to you the importance of the mourning band, I give you Seattle, Washington. In the summer of 2020, the riots following the George Floyd murder had pushed the anti-police agenda to an all-time high. Cities across the United States burned as groups such as BLM, Black Bloc, Antifa, Million Hoodies, and Color of Change marched in the streets. Police were actively targeted by these groups, and confrontations were common. In June of 2020, the media lit up over protesters' complaints that the Seattle police officers were using black bands to hide the badge numbers on their badges. The protesters pushed the narrative that this was being done so that the Seattle officers could commit acts of brutality against them and not fear repercussions. Several independent journalists went so far as to state publicly that it is a well-known fact that when an officer puts the black band on their badge, they're about to kick some ass. All of this was a lie. The black bands being worn were in honor of a fallen officer. Due to the design of the Seattle Police Department badge, the proper wearing of the mourning band did obscure the badge number. But all Seattle officers were required to have a name tag prominently displayed with their first initial and last name worn on their uniform at all times. The specific incident that kicked off this series of complaints came about when an officer was accused of committing brutality during the protests by name. So the protesters had no problem identifying the officer. Politicians in the Seattle area are not known for their support of law enforcement. The mayor's office and city council immediately stepped in. Within a day, the chief of police made a statement regarding the wearing of mourning bands. Chief Carmen Best said this: "Mourning bands have deep meaning in law enforcement and are a long-standing way of honoring those who are killed in the line of duty. However, some of the public's perceptions is that it is a way of officers to possibly hide their identity. Even though name tags are prominently displayed on the outermost clothing, the department must strike a balance between honoring officers who are killed in the line of duty and our responsibility to maintain the public's trust." You see, anything that might show honor and respect for fellow officers, or should I say anything that might promote the tribe, is fair game to the anti-police activists. If it wasn't important, they wouldn't have to lie to get it taken away. If it didn't mean something, they wouldn't care. Mourning bands are important. It is important to know that running to the sound of gunfire matters. It's important to know that sacrificing yourself for your community will be honored and remembered. It's important to know that if you do this job well, there is nothing finer you can do with your life. Mourning bands remind us of that when we're suffering the most. And that's the story we have to tell. Thank you for joining. As always, I'm curious what questions you're getting asked. What isn't the news covering? What story needs to be told? Connect with me at bluecanarypodcast@gmail.com.